The secret to endlessly selling for 100% profit. I think that's something we'd all like to know about. And interestingly enough, that is the title of my next guest's new book, Raymond Haggis, with me here today. And of course, we have old favourite here, Lance Girth, one of our regulars on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Bit of an intellectual, good old Lance. Great chap. Raymond, I'm very interested in this book, mostly because I love the idea of 100% profit.
Yes. Well.
How have you managed that? Because usually there's costs associated with business, but 100% profit, and I'm a bit of a hardliner when it comes to 100% things, okay? Because you hear a lot about he's given 110%.
Well,
that isn't possible unless you're comparing it to an earlier performance. So,
as a non-fiction writer, James, I try and stick exclusively to the realms of reality.
yes,
And the notion of this this extra 10%
is
that
a
a person can
disgrace.
give or acquire is
I won't have anybody on.
It's a scandal.
Who would use
It's a scandal.
such stupid words.
It's a scandal, you're quite right. But the idea of 100% profit is something that I've been exploring for some time. And I don't know if you've read the sum total of my works, but
No.
I've found that something as simple as a slightly altered title or chapters in a slightly different order, perhaps even a different coloured sleeve, are very effective ways of repackaging and reselling the same set of ideas 6 or possibly even 7 times.
Well, that sounds very clever, but is it morally wrong, Lance? This is.
Well, I think I can kick us off right away by saying that this man sat on our sofa today is an absolute fraud. You see, James?
Fraud.
You see, I don't know about you, but I read all of your books, all 17
break
of
it
them.
up.
Thank you very much.
I found some of them in charity shops for an absolute pence. And I went through all of them,
profit,
actually. Yep. And every chapter was pretty much the same. The titles were changed a little bit.
Yes.
And you even slipped up in a few cases, as I'd read in a number of your books. All of the dates were the same. Some of the years were the same. And I think some of your methodologies had become quite dated, and you hadn't updated them. You just were in the hopes that people were just going to forget or not care,
Well,
or
this
too lazy
brings-
to even finish the book.
Well,
This brings me on to one of your key tenets. I mean, I think the problem is, Lance, Raymond isn't really suggesting that he's doing otherwise. One of your key tenets seems to be that people are so forgetful that you can sell things over and over
Well,
again
yes.
to them.
I've been a strong proponent of and follower of something called the Reinhardt principle. I don't know if either of you have encountered this previously. It's more in sort of academic circles that you'll come across it, and it's the principle that once a person finds an item, a product, or a concept that they enjoy or appreciate, once they own it, all they want to do is own more and more and more and more. Hence, the possibility of reselling the same product again and again and again to the same consumer.
The Rhino principle?
The Reinhardt principle.
The
with a silent D.
Reinhardt principle. That
Yes.
sounds German. So, what is the Reinhardt principle?
What? It's
What is it? The Reinhardt principle. You're the one who
well,
mentioned it.
it's the principle of. I mean, I explained it moments ago. It's the principle of.
Yes, but for our viewers, I don't think if I didn't catch it, they're not going to. So
Right. Well, it's the principle of a consumer enjoying a product or a piece of media so very much that it becomes possible to resell the same slightly repackaged item to the same consumer 6, possibly even 7 times.
Well, I'm going to actually just jump in there and say, contradictory to that, that actually hasn't worked for you, has it? Because if we look at the sales records of your books, your first book was an absolute disaster, I think we can say there. I think your book ended up in the pound shop nearly 2 months after you put it on to publish. And then I think obviously your second book did very well. I think we can all say that was collectively quite a bestseller in airports, and that was about it. Yeah. And then as it went on slowly, you sold less and less numbers of those books. So in actual fact, telling us that your selling of these books, of the same book and regurgitating it was nothing more than a lie. I think
I think the issue is, Lance, that although you might be right that sales between books of mine have certainly fluctuated. Have you analysed the price data of each of the books?
Well, the books became more expensive, but I think, as you said in your second chapter, as you said...
Of which book would that be?
It doesn't bloody matter, does it? It was all the same. It was the
same
chapter.
I suppose not.
Yes. Chapter 2, when you say sell, 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 but only on a Wednesday. In the second book, you said sell, 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 but only on...
Friday.
On a Friday. And when you said that in that book, you said this will be the only book you will ever need. But of course... You're playing on the fact that people will forget that and hopefully buy it a second time.
Well, exactly.
But they didn't, did they?
I want to say I'm very interested in this concept of forgetfulness and the way that you can regurgitate information to people over and over again. I wondered, is there like an all-encompassing name for that? Is there a term for it?
For the concept of somebody enjoying something so much that you can sell it to them over and over again?
Yes, does it have a name?
Yes, it's the Reinhardt principle.
The Reinhardt principle, that's interesting.
The Reinhardt principle.
He's literally just said that moments ago.
It's German. It's German.
It's German, yes, there's a silent
D. He must have whispered it, because I have to, this is for viewers here, so we have to like actually make it very clear to them.
I'm not forgetful at all, I heard exactly what he was saying.
James, what colour tie are you wearing?
Well,
look at me, James.
I can
look at me. What colour tie are you wearing?
Yellow.
Unbelievable.
Reinhardt principle.
Yes.
So, does this apply to any other areas of life?
I would say so. I would say so. We live in a fast-paced world, as I'm sure we all know. Not everybody has a lot of focus for a lot of issues. I hate to say it. I hate to disparage your fine program, James. James. I hate to disparage your fine program.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, I shan't. But much like the news is a fast-paced I'm sure you would confess it involves a great deal of repetition and regurgitation of facts and opinions.
Not to a priest.
I'm going to jump in actually, and I'm just going to say that this man here is a giant fraudster. He is playing on the fact that there are people out there who are desperate for help and they're buying self-help books, and he is in hope that they will buy his self-help book, not knowing that they've already maybe purchased it in the past and they think it's going to be helpful, but it's not going to be helpful.
Raymond, have you ever been called a fraud before?
Never before in my professional career, James. I'm not quite sure how to react, but if there is a market for a certain genre of non-fiction book and I come along and fill that the hole in that market.
Some of the book is just absolute nonsense. You are aware of that. I mean, I've made some notes on some of the chapters in your book, and I can tell you how helpful they're going to be for you. Chapter 17. If you go into a supermarket, make sure that you buy the things at the bottom of the shelf. I mean, that's just obvious, isn't it? You've got a whole chapter on that. Chapter 23.
That's very useful information that not every member of the public might know. Lawrence.
Go on holiday to cold places.
Yes.
Yes. And chapter 45, which I think is absolutely the best one, which actually might be helpful to someone. Make sure you get written into your parents' will if they've got money. These are just obvious things. You shouldn't be writing these into a book.
That is
and also, you're saying that we're forgetful. I haven't forgotten
profit.
what you did last year. You're hoping that everyone forgot the scandal you had on the front page, and that was you sat on your massive yacht with one of the party of the Reform Party throwing pennies at children.
Yes, and those were hungry,
desperate
children
on other yachts.
Yes, these were hungry, desperate, yacht-based children.
They had floated up to you.
Yes.
No, these were peasant children in Egypt.
Peasant children on peasant yachts. Yes, I see no issue here.
You see no issue here?
I see no issue here whatsoever.
Brilliant. And do you think they're writing to their parents' wills, hoping to get written into them?
Well, no, because their parents don't have money because they're paupers.
Well, yes. Okay, well, we can throw things at children if we must, but I do want to get to the point about the news being very similar to forgetfulness and the fact that the news gets regurgitated to people.
Yes.
First of all, I would refute that with all the violence of the devil. Okay, news is always new. It's in the bloody word, isn't it?
Well, that's how you sell it to people.
News.
Yes, that's old.
Okay, so it's the plural of news, isn't it? That's the whole point.
Yes, exactly. And how can you have a plural of something that's new?
we're getting into sort of grammatical.
Well, I am a writer.
Grammatical semantic. You are a writer. That's true.
I think things run in cycles. They're cyclical. However, there are always new elements.
Cyclical.
Yes, thank you. I think there are always new elements to each piece of news, regardless of them being sort of reminiscent of things that have happened.
I'll explain the cycle to you now, Lance, and I'll explain it to you as well, James. Although, given your profession, I'm sure you're aware. The cycle goes:
I will be. Yes.
News item, reaction, forgetfulness, news item. Hence the ever-continuing, ever-repeating cycle. Hence the Reinhardt principle.
And we'll be back with another item after these messages.
What's the Reinhardt principle?